Out of all the anomaly units in the game, Piper is the only A-Rank unit. So today we're going to take a closer look into her kit, mechanics, and best builds you can go for. As usual, timestamps are in the video, so feel free to jump around, but I highly recommend watching everything because there's some useful tips along the video, and you also help me quite a lot. Piper is an A-Rank agent from Sons of Caledon, and she gets energy regeneration on leveling up her core skill, which makes a lot of sense since she relies a lot on her EX special. Despite that, Piper moveset is actually quite good. Not the fastest one, but there's a lot of great iframes you can use to avoid taking damage while also recharging your energy. Just like Jane, most of your damage is coming from assault triggers. There is still a lot of damage coming from your EX special, however, it is not enough to justify going for a crit build on Piper. Now let's talk about Piper's kit. Basic attack is not that worth it, however, it plays a really important part in your energy generation and your EX special as well. As you can see here, the third and fourth hit generates a lot of energy, but the long animation is a huge problem for you. But don't worry, there's a lot of skills that give you basic attack skips and let you follow up with the third hit without doing the full combo. The fourth hit is still a little bit of a problem. Even with the huge iframes on its animation, it is not safe enough to do a swap cancel because you can get hit on the final frames. Dash attack is really bad and I don't recommend you using it despite the fact that it gives a basic attack skip. Dodge counter, on the other hand, is insanely good. Great build up, damage, and a lot of iframes, and also pretty good energy generation. Not to mention, it also gives you a basic attack skip, so you can link it straight into your third basic attack. Now let's take a look at her most important skill, her special attack. Overall, the special attack is not a big deal, however, it is still an important part of Piper's kit, because of the great build-up and all the synergies you'll find with her Mindscape 1 and Fusion Compiler. We'll talk about it later, so for now let's focus on her EX special. Both special and EX special requires you to hold down your special attack button, but Piper is not invulnerable during the spin animation, meaning that you need to keep an eye on the enemy attacks, otherwise Piper is going to tank everything, and even with the 40% damage reduction, some enemies still hit really hard. The finishing move is a full iframe, so what you can do is simply release your special attack button to trigger the iframe and avoid taking damage. The description also states that you can start spinning from a higher level after using your third basic attack, dash attack, or dodge counter. However, this skill description lacks a bit of information. Piper's special attack has 3 different levels of spin before getting to the EX special or the finishing move. Using dash attack, your dodge attack will skip a single level, and basic attack 3, which you can link from both dash attack or dodge attack, will skip 2 levels. And so is basic attack 2. I don't know exactly why, but you can just use basic attack 1, 2, and start spinning from the maximum speed. Using the skips allow you to hit EX special faster than just holding down your special attack button, so I highly recommend you to remember and use this information when playing Piper. For assists, all of them are really good and I highly recommend using them whenever possible. All of them also give you basic attack skips, so you can follow up with your basic attack 3 and you already know how good they are for your energy generation. Now, chain attacks and ultimates are quite sad. Despite the huge multiplier on both of them, the build-up is actually quite average or even bad because of how long the animation is. Chain attacks takes a total of 2.4 seconds and ultimate takes 3.2 seconds. Of course, skipping a chain attack means you won't get to use bang boot chain attacks, and for anomaly build-up they can help you quite a lot. Finally, her core gives extra build-up for 12 seconds whenever you hit the enemy with your EX special. It stacks up to 20 times for a total of 80% build-up on core F. If you activate her additional ability, you also get 18% damage bonus for your whole squad as long as you have 20 or more stacks of power. Thanks to this, using Anomaly Mastery on your Disc 6 can make Piper hit insane levels of build-up on the enemy. If you don't know how Anomaly build-up works, I have a whole guide for Anomaly that I'll link down in the description, but I also leave right here in the corner. Now that you understand her kit, let's talk about some key points that you need to keep in mind when playing Piper. She relies quite a lot on her EX special to make use of her core skill and additional ability. This makes energy one of her biggest issues, however, unlike Bernie's, Piper has an excellent dodge counter and energy gain on her basic attacks. She is quite vulnerable when spinning, but you can still dodge or simply release the special attack button to trigger the finishing move. I personally highly recommend using the dodge because the spin has a better build-up than the finishing move. Since her finishing move is a full iframe, you can use a long animation to swap and trigger buffs as needed. Just keep in mind that units you are not controlling cannot trigger anomalies on the enemy. Despite being a great on-field unit, Piper has some small issues on the stun window. Mainly the fact that once she's out of energy, her DPS drops quite a lot. And while your ultimate could fill the stun window, using a support ultimate to regenerate energy for Piper gives more build-up than using Piper's ultimate. Finally, we didn't talk about it yet, however, a lot of Piper's true potential is locked behind Mindscapes, so I highly recommend getting Mindscape 1 if you can. For gameplay, you need to keep an eye on her power stacks, because Losing it means you lose 18% damage for your whole squad and all the extra build-up it gives for you. That's why I highly recommend you to cancel your spin using dashes instead of going for a full spin with the finishing move. In case you didn't know, the finishing move costs 20 energy, so it's better for you to save this energy for some extra spins instead of using the finishing move. Use dodge counters whenever possible and follow up with her basic attack 3 and special attack. Even without the energy, I highly recommend going for special attack instead of basic attack 4. And despite all the downsides, her ultimate is still useful for the build-up and also against a group of enemies, since the long animation and area can help you group up and hit all of them at the same time. Piper has no specific rotation and she requires a lot of knowledge and attention in order to keep her stacks and also avoid taking damage. Most of the time you'll play by reacting to the enemy because Piper has no combo and all you need is energy and finding windows to do quick spins and refresh your power stacks. So for upgrade priorities, since most of your damage comes from Anomaly, you should always focus on leveling up Piper all the way to level 60. Besides that, I would only recommend leveling up her core skill and maybe her EX special. Despite not increasing your assault damage, Piper can still do some decent amount of damage on her EX special. Everything else is a matter of preference because the damage contributions are not that high. Now, before we talk about builds, if you're enjoying this video, I would appreciate it if you leave a like, and if you're looking for more Zenless Zone Zero content, be sure to subscribe as well. You can also join my Discord server for early access to calculation, faster answers for your questions, and of course, join the community. Anyway, back to the video. Here's a quick overview of the build you should aim for. But let's start talking about this set options. Fanged Metal 4-piece is the best choice when it comes to physical damage, and Piper is not an exception since she already gets a lot of build-up bonuses, and it's quite easy for you to get Fanged Metal 4-piece effect with 100% uptime. Freedom Blues 4-piece is not a great option unless you're dealing with physical resistant enemies, which in this case, I would recommend avoid running Piper. For the 2-piece set, Freedom Blues or Chaos Jazz for the 30 Anomaly Proficiency are your best choices, but Hormone Punk and Perfect Electro give close to the same damage output, meaning that you should use the one with better stats. Speaking of disc stats, you should use Anomaly Proficiency on slot 4, Damage or Penetration on slot 5, and Anomaly Mastery or Attack on slot 6. Anomaly Proficiency is an easy pick, since we don't have a lot of Anomaly Proficiency buffs. Attack, on the other hand, can be easily increased by most supports and weapon effect. Damage is the best option, but since there's a lot of damage sources in the game, Penetration is also a valid option. Attack is the worst between all the three options, mostly because you can get Attack as a substat on both Damage and Penetration discs, but the other way around it's not possible. In the first slot 6, Anomaly Mastery is the best option for a Mindscape 0 Piper, but once you hit Mindscape 1, you're better running Attack instead. And finally, for the substats, your top priority should always be Anomaly Proficiency, followed by Attack Percentage, Flat Attack, Penetration, and Crit stats. Next up, let's talk about her weapon choice. Despite having a lot of synergy with her signature weapon, Roaring Ride still requires energy to activate its effects. While you can easily activate all the 3 effects while spinning, this can prove to be a problem when it comes to buff uptime. Not to mention that you cannot craft Piper's signature, meaning that you still need some good luck to get maxed ups and hit phase 5. Whipping Gemini is the best one when it comes to free-to-play options, but overall, Fusion Compiler is the best option for you. Since Piper always starts with her special attack before going for the EX special attack, you'll always spin with at least 2 stacks. The finisher is also another attack, so you can easily stack Fusion Compiler even without energy. Jane's signature weapon is the best choice, but being a limited weapon, it is not something you can easily get in slot on Piper. Finally, let's take a look at Piper's Mindscape. Mindscape 1 is a must-have in my opinion. It increases the maximum build-up bonus by 50% and also makes your special attack refresh your power stacks. This is really important to keep your power stacks maxed even without energy, since Piper's build-up gets a huge increase as well. From this point onward, you should use attack on the slot 6. Mindscape 2 gives a huge damage boost for your special finisher and ultimate as well, and since damage bonuses are accounted for your anomaly damage, it is a great addition for your DPS. Mindscape 4 helps a bit with energy, but since it only triggers every 30 seconds, it is not that reliable. Mindscape 6 increases the maximum duration of your spin and power stack as well. However, since the spinning still requires energy, it is not a DPS increase, and for power stacks, you can easily refresh them by using Mindscape 1 effect. To be honest, both Mindscape 4 and 6 are not that great, and how they translate to actual DPS can be hard to measure. For team compositions, Piper needs to stay on the field mostly because of the huge energy requirement for her spins. This means that you can play Piper as a hyper carry using 2 support units, such as Lucy, Seth, Rina, Qingyi, or even Caesar, but also with Burnies for the extra damage. Unlike Jane, Piper has some downtime on her DPS, and swapping to Burnies isn't a huge DPS loss. It gets even better with Piper Mindscape 4, since it gives free energy for Piper once in a while. One of the best units to slot with Piper is a Mindscapes 6 Lucy. Piper is one of the few units that can squeeze a lot of damage from Lucy's Mindscapes 6 due to how long you can keep your EX special on the enemy. Finally, I made a post where you could send me your question about Piper, and I'll take these final moments to answer some specific questions that I didn't cover through the video. One of the questions was the following: what does Mindscape 1 change for Piper in terms of what to run in her disc 6? And what about running energy regeneration on slot 6 to abuse Lucy's Mindscape 6? Well, for Mindscape 1, I already covered in my Mindscape section, but for Lucy Mindscape 6, I would still advise against running energy regeneration on Piper. For example, a 3000 attack Lucy with 60 crit rate and 120 crit damage would only make 5% of Piper's total damage. Not to mention that most of your energy comes from basic attack and dodge attacks. If you want to increase your EX special uptime without losing a lot of damage, I would recommend running the Defender weapon from the Battle Pass, since unlike energy regeneration rate also increases how much energy your attacks will generate. In a Piper Lucy Burnies team, who gets to use their ultimate? Well, this is a really great question, and I'm even looking to make a full video in this team composition, but usually the best pick here would be Burnies, because of the insane damage multiplier, low field time, and anomaly buildup as well. Lucy can still do a decent amount of damage, assuming you're leveling up her ultimate and building crit stats on her, not to mention that it also regenerates energy for both Piper and Burnies. Piper is the worst option to use an ultimate for reasons I already explained before, but basically long animation with an underwhelming build-up makes it not worth it. Is there any reality where Piper is better than Jane, or is just a clear power creep? Look, I don't like using the word power creep because Piper is still a solid and strong unit. So here's a bit of my opinion and data on this topic, and you're free to make your own conclusion. I own a Piper Mindscape 6 and Jane Mindscape 0, and as you can see here, both of them gets close to the same clear times on a Caesar Burnies team composition. I didn't use Lucy because of her Mindscape 6 and the high synergy with Piper, and I didn't use Seth because his additional ability is easier to activate with Jane. I don't want to extend the video too long, so in short, for me, Jane is stronger and easier to team build when compared to Piper, but I think Piper is a little more flexible when it comes to playstyle and team compositions. And that should be everything about Piper. As usual, remember to like and subscribe if you're looking for more Zenless Zone Zero content, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below or join my Discord server. Thanks for watching, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in my next video.